A pleasure to be here with Monideepa Banerjie. Welcome, ma'am, to the Kolkata Literature Festival.
Thank you, Priyam.
You were just part of a session called The Idea of India. If I may rephrase something you started your session with, saying that if the idea of India were a state of mind, then you ask the panelists that, what sort of mental health are we in? If I ask you a slightly different version of the question, if the idea of India were a state of mind, are we increasingly hurtling towards mindlessness?
Mindlessness, no. I think we are a brilliant people, and I'm not just being facet. What is the word? Facets. Whatever. I'm not just saying nice things. I really think we are, as Indians, we are a brilliant people with brilliant minds, and we are in no danger of becoming mindless. But what is perhaps of concern and should be for everybody is in which direction is the mind traveling? Are we traveling towards a fragmentation, a fragmented country, or are we traveling towards making, to quote the prince, are we making the world a better place? That is my concern. It's almost like the minds of Indians today are a battlefield, and that's what should put us all on alert.
Over the years, we've had contrasting ideas of India, often coexist, often counter each other, but increasingly there seems to be a certain hegemony towards homogenizing what India means, whether that be in the realm of culture, politics, food, lifestyle, whatever. Is that something that concerns you, that increasingly we're moving towards this homogenized idea of India?
Yes, it does. Every time I've been to a wedding this winter season, I've been very worried that all our weddings are now beginning to look alike, like the latest Bollywood film. And that worries me because I think, however cliched it may sound, diversity is what is the most beautiful thing about this country. And, there was a definition that I was reading. I think it comes from that famous book, The Idea of India by Sunil Khilnani, where he quotes somebody and says, India is like, pluralism in India is like a dhoti. Many pleats on top and many pleats at the bottom. So that's how it should be. And apparently there was somebody who was asked to define whether trousers was a plural word or a singular word. And the answer to that was singular at the top, plural at the bottom. And I think that is my idea of India. And certainly, while homogeneity is comforting in some ways, it indicates that we are all coming together into one people. I think we must cherish and protect diversity.
When it comes to the idea of India, one major factor in shaping that idea is the media, is journalism. Do you increasingly feel that the journalistic ecosystem is incapable of having a pluralism of ideas or having multiplicity of ideas? We all know what has happened with ownership of media very recently with certain institutions. So where do you think the media's role stands today with respect to really understanding and delivering upon the idea of India?
I hope I'm not being very optimistic, but I do believe the media, the way it should be, will rise from the ashes like phoenix. Already we are seeing signs of it that, a certain section of the mainstream media, very influential, television especially, they have all kind of gone one way. The other voice is just not heard, and after the recent developments in TV ownership in this country, it's probably the little bit that remained of diversity in voices, that's gone too. But there are alternatives popping up almost every day. The digital space is there for us to do all kinds of things in, and hopefully that will really help pull the media as it should be up by the bootstraps sooner rather than later, because I agree that media is so very important to the health of our democracy.
One of the cliches around media is that opinions are free but facts are sacred, and facts have a very important role in creating a basis for different ideas upon which they can agree to disagree. Do you feel that in certain aspects, especially television media, we've now gone to the wrong end of the threshold where people don't really care about facts anymore? It's about opinionating and it's about creating an ecosystem of opinions rather than a basis of facts.
This probably stems from an old-fashioned view that I have, that we all tom this is the truth and that is the truth. but I like the fact that you use the term fact, which is, a fact unpainted by any shade, color, opinion, or anything of the kind. So, yeah, I agree that facts seem to be under threat. It's the day of fake news, and yet I think we'll have to put in a consolidated fight to fight for fact and make sure that fake news is kicked out of the ecosystem. What this needs, in my humble opinion, is media education. People need to understand that this is how it's all happening. And I almost feel that I should campaign for a course in media education at school levels, so that people are aware that there's something called fake news, fake videos, and then we have now chat GPT coming, so god knows where fake news will travel next. So yeah, I think there is a necessity to sort of put everybody on their toes, at least to recognize fact from fiction.
My final question is about the revenue models around which media revolves and operates. Now, we all know that Indians don't generally like to pay for their news. Most of the news that we get is almost like air. It comes as free and it comes also as polluted. But at the same time, we are seeing the rise of subscription services on a certain number of platforms. Do you feel that subscription has a legitimate future in India? Maybe even something like micro subscription, where if I pay for one article, I read that one article after paying a 5 rupees instead of subscribing to a publication. Where do you think subscription's feasibility is in the Indian media ecosystem?
Certainly, the subscription model needs to expand, but given the state of our country, given the state of our economy, the people, the awareness, the accessibility, etc., I think it's going to be really tough to survive on subscriptions at this moment. So it'll be tough. I think the revenue model of old, stood us in good stead for a fairly long time. Of course, a business house that, advertised on Media A would want to make sure that there was no negative news about it on Media A. But it was not so in your face in the past. It was there, but not in your face. I think when I think that model, and that's the model that's worked for us for the last 50 out of 75 years, we can still go back to it, but perhaps with a little more, I don't know, little more, a sort of stricter and stronger pushback by the media against any kind of interference by the people who advertise into the content. If that can be done, great. Otherwise, we'll have to base ourselves on subscription. There's no other way, which means there are going to be much more poorly paid journalists than there are today. And it'll be tough because it's expensive business, the media, and getting the truth out costs money. And it'll be a tough battle.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great time at KLF.